Ever thought, I should be further along by now? Why can't I just get it together? Maybe I'm not cut out for this after all. Y'all, that's self doubt, and it gets loud in quarter four. And in this episode, I'm going to show you how to flip that inner critic into clarity and finish 2025 strong and focused. Let's do this. In high school, I ran track. I was on the track and field team, and y'all, I was absolutely terrible. So from the time that I was pretty young, I would run and jog with my dad. And in high school, I enjoyed the social aspect of track, but I also really like to run. But turns out I don't like to run fast and I don't really like to compete. So it was really not the best activity for me. But what would often happen is I would start a race, and the moment that I would start to slip behind, I would feel myself mentally just give up. And I would have these moments where I would think, well, what's the point now? There's no way that I'm going to catch up. There's no way I'm going to win. Like, why put myself through the misery of the pain that comes with pushing hard if it's not going to get me anywhere? And I also just didn't have a lot of confidence in my ability as an athlete. I love to move my body, but I always struggle to think of myself as an athlete. And I really am just not a particularly competitive person. And while there are aspects about that I really love about myself, it did not really serve me in track and field. And I'm sharing this with you all because one of the things that I've really noticed is that this is the time of the year that people either tend to crank it up and they go, you know what? We only have one more quarter left. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And they finally, with the urgency of the end of the year, put into motion all of the things that they've been wanting to do all year. And that can go one of two ways. Either it can be wildly successful, or they could find themselves burnt out by the end of the year, or it can just be really, really chaotic in Q4 when also it tends to be holiday season. The other half of people kind of do what I did in track and field. They feel like I should be further along. I just kind of wasted this year. I guess it's already done with. Like, let's just check out. There's nothing that we can do. And there happens to be a lot of self-doubt wrapped up in this. There's fear of failure. There's judgment. There's the sense of wasted effort. I'm so fascinated when it is that we consider something a waste and when we think it's worth our effort. And I want to let you know that if you find yourself in a space of self-doubt, if you are someone that really struggles with that self-doubt dialogue that just runs through your brain, this is not a character flaw. In fact, it is a protective response from our brain to keep us safe. And self-doubt oftentimes thrives in ambiguity and disappears with clarity. So if you are able to get really clear about what does matter, if you are able to get really clear about what your blockers have been and how to finally break through them, self-doubt is going to struggle to survive when you're in a place of catalytic clarity. So I want to talk a little bit about how self-doubt sabotages Q4 goals. And as I do this, I'm going to be connecting them to some of the stuck states that I have found in my stuck states of self-leadership assessment. I don't think that I thought about what a tongue twister that was going to be when I titled it. But so if you haven't checked it out, you can go to plangoalplan.com/stuck and you can sign up to take this assessment. You should be able to take it in 10 minutes or less. And it is going to help you determine your kind of preferred state of stuckness. What I love about this is twofold. One, I created this quiz by going through and coding data from one-on-one clients that I've worked with for the last couple of years. So I took our coaching sessions and I was like, I want to be able to articulate the precise ways that people are explaining that they are stuck. And so I went through and I did that. And that's actually how I developed these 6 stuck states. The other thing that is so awesome about this is it is not completely automated. I do hand put your results in there. And what this does, it will actually let you know, hey, these are all of the different factors, because a lot of times we don't just have one state going on. There might be one predominant one, but oftentimes we have a couple of different stuck states that are interacting with each other. And so it will kind of explain how they're interacting with each other and will give you a very personalized assessment. So I think that that's pretty cool. So anyway, as I walk through these different ways that I believe that self-doubt sabotages our Q4 goals, I'm going to also be connecting these to these broader stuck states that I see that people are struggling through. I also want to say that this isn't your personal feeling. Everybody has some sort of a stuck state, and it can also shift over time. So, the first one that I want to talk about is the procrastination. So, for some people, like I said, the quarter four is really motivating because there's finally that urgency of the end of the year that is motivating. But for some of you, you might also see the end of the year to be like, oh, well, let's just wait until 2026. Let's just wait till the new year. I'll eat healthy then. I'll exercise then. I'll declutter my house then. I'll take on this leadership role at work then. So if you find yourself in this, you find yourself waiting for that perfect time. I see this showing up in the stuck state assessment with two primary results. One is the self-interrupter and the other is the waiting self. So if you find that you're waiting for the perfect time, but every time that you're about to start, you interrupt yourself with distractions or doubts or a false need to just get a little more ready, and then time passes and your confidence actually dips. So there's a few solutions that I can sort of see for this that are based on the plan, go, plan method. One is the grip method. So in my Plan, Go, Plan Your Year course, and if you join any of my retreats, we'll go over this too. I teach the grip method. So we use the vision goal setting method to actually set our goals, but then when we need to break them down, we use this grip method. And essentially what we're doing is we are shrinking the step until it's laughably small. And we might also anchor it to some sort of a ritual cue. So if you have some rituals in place and then you have this laughably small step, what you're able to do is you're able to take that small step, see that you can start, gain a little bit of confidence. And as you gain confidence, as you gain efficacy, belief in yourself and that it's possible, you're going to see yourself, the momentum is going to start to build. It has this like snowball effect. So if you feel like procrastination is the thing that maybe has led you to entering Q4, feeling like you just haven't grasped, like that you've let this year just kind of whittle away, and you feel tempted to keep procrastinating and making next year when you're finally going to do it, then I think this is a great place to start. The second way that I see self-doubt starting to sabotage our quarter four is actually through over planning. I know, Danielle, you love planning. How can you say that we could over plan? So one of the stuck states that is one of the most, I've seen more people get this result. This is a more common result that I've seen is called the overwhelmed visionary. And so these are people that have lots of ideas. You have ideas that are big and they're colorful and they're exciting, but you keep drawing the map instead of walking the path. And endless preparation can create this illusion of progress where momentum is actually stalling. I really love Oliver Burkeman has the book 4,000 Weeks. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. And he talks about how we spend so much time perfecting the system for the work that we're doing that we actually never do the work. And he calls this the trap of instrumentalizing time. So some solutions that I think are really helpful for the overwhelmed visionary, for the people that are stuck in over planning mode, is to engage in the flow planning system. So after we go through the grip method in the Plan, Go, Plan Your Year course, we actually jump in to a flow, FLOW, planning system. And that is an acronym, and the F stands for focus blocks. One thing that really, really helps me is to create some focus blocks that are around, I call them my administration or my admin blocks. And that's where I do a lot of my planning. And when I know that I have a place for the planning and I get to get all of my planning juices out, and then I have a process in place for checking in with that on a daily and weekly basis, it does help me to not get into perpetual planning mode. I know that this is my time set aside. Once it's gone, it's time to do. And by containing my planning ritual, it keeps it from taking over all of my energy, and execution becomes a non negotiable when my vision is also really grounded in action. So, that is what I recommend if you are in a place dealing with self doubt that comes and reveals itself through over planning. The third way that I see self doubt sabotaging our Q4 goals is with the comparison spiral. So, in the stuck states, there is something called the disillusioned doer. And this is where you see others and they feel so ahead of you, and your own efforts feel small or pointless. It's like me running my race and realizing how much other people are pulling ahead of me, and then feeling like, well, why am I even trying? Others are way ahead of me. Like, let's just sit this one out. So if you find yourself questioning, why am I even trying? If you create doubt around your own goals, this might be connected to the comparison spiral. So one of the things that really helps me is to return to some of my identity work and the season that I'm in. So asking myself, what matters for me right now in the story that I'm writing, in the season that I'm in, that this person that might be taking off sprinting in front of me, they might be in a season where they have grown kids, or maybe they haven't had kids, or aren't going to have kids. And so they're just in a different season, where I'm in a season, my kids aren't littles anymore, but they ain't that grown either. And so how can you really connect again to, well, what is your story that you're writing? What matters to you? And when you do that vision framework and the vision goal setting process at the start of the plan, goal, plan system, it really does get you to connect with you so that you aren't setting someone else's goals, or you can get out of that comparison mode. And then if you can do that and also pair it with a grounding ritual, it's a really great way to hold your lane. So for me, my morning planning rituals, not only are they a container that really keep me in motion, they're also something that grounds me and helps me go, no, this is what I decided for me, and keeps me from falling into also shiny object syndrome. So when you re-anchor your narrative, it dissolves the power of someone else's highlight reel. So if you're in the comparison spiral, you ain't alone. Also, though, don't let it slow you down in Q4. And then the fourth one that I want to talk about today is energy leaks. So the other most common result that I'm getting on my step states assessment, which, by the way, again, you can go to plangoalplan.com/stuck and you can take this assessment, is the exhausted idealist. So this is someone who still has a lot of hope. You believe there is a lot possible in this world, but you are so flipping exhausted. You're exhausted imagining all the ways that you could fail. You are exhausted imagining all of the work that's going to take you to get where you need to go. And you are exhausted doing all of the things. So you're kind of drained before you even begin. And I think that one of the most important things when we're feeling drained is to have rituals that not only connect us to ourselves and ground us, but rituals that actually feed our energy. So one of the things that I would really recommend, I want you to think about, where is your energy leaking? So where are those spaces that are draining you, and what can you do about those spaces? I haven't shared this with you yet. I will probably in a month or two, but I had a guest on the podcast who offered me a solution to delegating out my laundry. And I'm going to try out the Poplin app, and I'm going to just give it a shot for 6 weeks. And I'm going to see what it's like to outsource my laundry, because I was realizing that, especially after we would travel for a weekend, which is something that brings us an immense amount of joy, but I would come home and I would be behind on laundry for that entire week. And as I do more speaking engagements, as I'm out doing more consulting work, it just means that we're going on family adventures. My family is going with me right now, which is really flippin' awesome. But that means that like some of the systems that I had in place for taking care of my home, they all have to now get done between Monday and Thursday or Monday and Friday because my weekends are out. And so where are those leaks? How could you put a sock in those leaks? But also, how are you going to feed that energy? And for me, it has helped me so much to have rituals in place where I can just replenish my energy. And it doesn't always take that long, but anything that just connects and grounds me to myself and how I want to show up can shift my state and my energy so quickly. The other thing that I want to get really honest about is how much time are you spending worrying? And is that worry serving you? So when I was dealing with a lot of anxiety, I convinced myself that worrying not only protected me, but it served me. That I could stay up at night rehearsing all of the things that I thought could go wrong the next day, that rehearsal was going to prepare me to be able to respond and to perform the way that I needed to the next day. But what I've learned over time is that worry is a wasted rehearsal. What is better for me is to have these rituals of reflection, of connection, of grounding myself, and then trusting that in me, I have all sorts of knowledge and capabilities and experiences and stories that if I can get myself to show up with presence, I'm going to have the capacity to respond and show up in the state that I want to. And this has been such a dramatic shift for me. Not only do I feel like I have an annoying amount of energy, I also feel like because of that, I'm able to show up in ways that I feel proud of, even in the gritty, icky, muck moments. So as we finish out today, I want you to know that self-doubt is not a stop sign. It is a signal. And what I want you to ask yourself is the self-doubt something that should drain me or should I use it as fuel? And then as you step into Q4, I want you to think what matters most and what's an action that I can take today, not someday, not on January 1st, 2026, but what is an action you could take today? And if you're curious about which stuck state is holding you back right now, please take my free assessment. It's easy peasy. It's going to show you where you're getting stuck, and it's going to give you a ritual reset to move forward with confidence. You'll find the link in the show notes. You can also just pop to plangoplan.com and you'll find it. Y'all, I wish for you a Q4 that has such massive clarity that it stamps out any sort of self-doubt. I believe in you. I believe in possibilities. So be bold, be balanced, and most of all, be well, friends. Until next time.